We're now going to have an interactive panel discussion, so I'll introduce the panel's moderator. Mark Zawacki is the founder and managing partner of the Milestone Group. Based in Palo Alto, Mark's group advises technology, media and telecommunications clients around the globe on growth in revenue and strategies. Prior to founding Milestone Group, Mark spent a decade as a strategic consultant with CSC Index, the strategic management consulting division of Computer Sciences Corp, and I met Mark the other night and I think he did a bit of a stint in Australia. So internationally based, it's Mark's consulting focused on corporate strategy, organisational change and leveraging technology for business advantage. He's a frequent speaker, panellist and moderator at international technology, media and telecommunications events. So please welcome Mark Zawacki.
Rob, thanks so much. I'd like to thank Optus for having me down this week. It's been a very enjoyable week. I've met with the Optus executives and have been very involved as well over at the Amplify conference over on Bridge Street. We've got 5 panelists today, and I'm going to bring them all up together as a group. I think they're all here, and let them introduce themselves. And we do realize that we're standing between you and lunch, so we'll do our best to keep it lively and keep it interactive. So if all the panelists can come up now. You guys are here. You're still mic'd, right?
Should be.
Yeah, either one of those. Either one's fine.
I'll sit next to the big guy.
Great. So where to start? Optus just published their research today around the future of work. Before we jump into that, each panelist, we're going to ask what they're up to. Grant, you spoke last, so why don't we start at this side with Bob. We'll just go down the list. A few of you have already spoken this morning, but Bob, a bit more about your background, what you do. Maybe everyone didn't hear your earlier presentation.
I'm already mic'd up, thanks. I spend most of my time working with mobile operators, enterprises, and a lot of the vendors in between, looking at what are the right best practices, what are the technical architectures, what are the competitors in a given market doing, and also helping CIOs look at vendor evaluations around product features and stability of companies to implement enterprise mobility. That's about half of what I do. The other is working with the financial sector, in particular around mobile banking and mobile payments.
Great. Kevin?
Yeah, thanks. Kevin Bloch, I'm the CTO for Cisco. So I spend about half of my time here, about 30%, so 40% if you're going to do the numbers, in Australia, New Zealand, 30% Asia Pac, which goes up to Japan, China, and about 30% globally. And also cover all segments, so all vertical segments as well as horizontal segments. So quite a few products and markets and so on to cover.
Hi, I'm Stuart Macintyre. I head up the access strategy and planning at Optus, so helping to consider how we should evolve our network to meet these future needs that we're seeing talked about in the report today. I've been in telco for 10 years. Before telco, I was involved in our family business of farming, and I just thought I'd touch on how technology innovation in that sector is just quite mind-blowing how different we are today. I was looking at the parking industry and how that's evolved. Today I can program our irrigation units from my smartphone. The tractors drive themselves up the rows. Without the driver having to do anything, the cool chain management that's monitored from the field to plate, just in a completely different segment. That's what's going on and how technology helps. And so then when I left that sector and went into telco and travelled, spent 10 years at British Telecom, initially bringing fixed broadband to market for 5 years, and then laterally focused on looking at 4G and Wi-Fi and wireless broadband and how we can sort of support this explosion in data and devices. So really keen to be part of the discussion today as to how this report means we need to shape the future.
Hi again. So Dominic's my name. I'm the Chief Creative Officer and co-founder of ChangeLabs. So it's a behavioral change consultancy. And our interest and experience with technology is basically insofar as it enables a set of different behaviours or potentially old behaviours amplified and turned up to 11 to take place in the workplace that enable collaboration, innovation, flexibility, mobility, those sorts of things. And if I can just say, Grant, that as much as technology has changed in the parking business, I presume it will always be a person like me in the chicken suit, dressed as the early bird.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks, Dominic. For those who've just joined us, Grant Hurley, Group CIO at Wilson Group. As you've heard, parking, security and technology. My main focus, which I didn't mention, is really driving that transformation and strategy. And it's really engaging and having a discussion with our owner, our shareholder, our board and the business, and making sure that the business gets a grasp of where technology is at and how we can leverage that for the business.
Great, thanks, Grant. Yesterday we had a briefing call to get ready for this panel, and as we were briefing, Margot said, wouldn't it be great if you all talked about the future of work report that came out today? And the panel said it'd be nice if we had it. And they've all in the last 24 hours had a good read of it. It's about 50 pages, as you know, and there's a lot of findings in there, and we're just getting our heads around. Let me just, I just want to run down the list again for all of the panelists. What did you take away from the research and just scanning it? Kevin, we'll start with you on this one.
Sure. So a few things. I mean, a lot of it you've probably seen in other reports, but there's some unique numbers and so on in the report. I think the first thing is the absolute growth in the three parts from the client to the data center. So in the data center, in the network, and in the client. And in the client, this growth of mobile, which is hockey stick at the moment, in particular smartphones. So I think, there is a transformation as we move in the last decade from almost a Windows-based environment to, most of you have all got phones, and I think you're going to be leaving that Windows environment to an Android, iOS type environment. Excuse me if there's a lot of Microsoft in the room, but I think we're already crossed that point, and we're becoming a lot more mobile, and I think those numbers speak to it. It speaks to it in terms of you as end users. It absolutely speaks to us in terms of Optus, Cisco, in terms of the supply side as well, in terms of what we need to build and the services that Optus needs to provide.
Yeah. Grant, as a CIO, you read that report. What jumped off the page?
I was pleased that I think the research has reinforced some of the transformation and strategy that we're undertaking. There's some key areas there that I think that we can take on board. One of the pleasing things that if you talk about the evolving workplace is there's expectations about the consumer-driven mobility and solutions that are available, and then when they come into the workplace as to what's available to them there, and so it's bridging that gap in expectation. And also as the workforce starts to move away from the office as they are in our business, and how we manage that securely. So we provide the service, but we provide the protection that's not only required by our business but our customers as well. And the HR component is that I totally agree that while in the past you've had different corporate services within the company operating in some levels of silos, really there's now the change of the culture and the behaviour and how technology enables and supports that.
And Dominic, picking up on some of the things you discussed this morning, I suspect you see a gap between what the research says and maybe where organizations are today. So, beyond Gen Y, I think we're now calling them Gen C, right? After Gen Y comes Gen C.
Something like that, yeah.
What is it, connected, or, right? How do you see these Gen C people coming into the workforce, right? And I just see this gap between organizations today and their ability to adopt all these technologies. How do you see it playing out?
Well, I mean, I feel like in what I've seen, the biggest gap is an expectation gap of just how rapidly these changes can and should take place. I mean, the research says 3 to 5 years. The reality is recruits who are arriving today expect it to kind of happen today, I think. And of my 50 staff, I think 40 of them are between 20 and 28, which is just a joy, obviously. And you're all envying me right now. And I think there's a certain expectation of it happening very, very soon. I think the key other thing the report suggested that I think should be very exciting for everyone, though, is that just as there's a demand for it, there's really an opportunity to carve out competitive advantage as an employer by the rapid adoption of the tools, so as particularly Gen Y, but increasingly everyone, will make choices about where they work based on feeling like the technology is commensurate with their opinion of themselves in the world as being very tech savvy, very switched on, very leading edge people. If you can make the changes quickly enough and in a compelling enough way, it can actually become not just a tool of productivity, but a tool of retention, engagement, and attraction as well. So that was, I think, one of the really interesting findings I sort of took out of it.
Okay. I just noticed we put the Americans on this end and also with the American vendor, so we've kind of divided ourselves down here.